Today is October 18th, 2019. This is 4 questions we have for my grade 8s as a warm-up. To reach back to our chapter 8 on integers, the first 3 questions, and the last question is your most recent chapter 3 or 6.3 on multiplying a fraction by a fraction or a fraction of a fraction. So the first question is 2 bracket 3 minus 7 bracket minus 10. The first thing you have to be able to do is read that appropriately without using the words bracket. So I would read that as 2 multiplied by 3 take away 7, then subtract 10 from that. So the first thing I'm going to do is simplify my brackets in BEDMAS. And there are still people who think that 3 take away 7 is 4, but it's not. 3 take away 7 is negative 4. So your next line should read exactly what I did. 2 bracket negative 4, meaning 2 multiplied by negative 4, take away 10. The next thing you do is your multiplication. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. You have negative 8, take away 10. Now remember, this is a subtraction symbol, which means if that's a subtraction symbol, is 10 positive or negative? If that's a subtraction symbol, it's a positive 10. So if you are into the idea of, I'd rather just use additive inverse or additive using the addition of the opposite integer, you could change it to addition. And since you know that that's a positive, you can make it a negative, right? So instead of subtracting 10, you can add negative 10. Adding negative 10 is the same idea as subtracting 10. 8 negatives and 10 negatives make 18 negatives. So your answer is negative 18 for the first one. In your second question, you have 2 plus 7 multiplied by, again, if there's a number next to the brackets with no operation, it's assumed to be multiplication, multiplied by negative 3. Take that and divide it all by negative 2. So we're going to simplify this numerator first, or this top part of our expression, and then once we get that answer, we're going to divide the answer by negative 2. So that first part is going to become 2 plus negative 21, because 7 times negative 3 is negative 21. So the whole thing will become that. 2 plus negative 21 is negative 19. So my next line will be negative 19 divided by negative 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. 20 divided by 2 is 10. So 19 divided by 2 is 9.5. And a negative divided by a negative, if we use our sign rules, any number divided by itself or any number multiplied by itself that has the same signs will be a positive answer. So our answer for question number 2 is a positive 9.5. Sign rules? Yeah. Your next question says 2. There's no operation here, which means multiplied by 3 times negative 4. Then divide that answer by negative 10. So the first thing I do is my brackets. I get 2 multiplied by negative 12 divided by negative 10. 2 times negative 12 is negative 24 divided by negative 10. And dividing by 10 is not hard. You don't need a calculator when you divide by 10. When you divide by 10, you simply take your decimal, which in this case is at the end of this number here, and move it one place over to give you negative 2.4 or 2.4. Since it's a negative divided by a negative, just like the last question, any number divided by itself at the same signs, if they have the same signs, will be a positive answer. So your answer is positive 2.4 or just 2.4. And your last question from 3.3 is your equation from the modeling. If I think about what did I start with when I first drew this, if I take these red lines out, I think we all can figure out that we started with the fraction 2/5. Go back here. Oh, sugar cubes. Go back a little bit more. One more, 2 more. There we go. So if we take this question, I started with, sorry, not 2/5, not 3/5, but 2/5. And I want to ask myself, how much of the 2/5 am I keeping? Well, I cut it with the red lines into quarters, and I kept 3 of them. So it's 3/4 of the 2/5 that I started with, I'm going to account for. So since it's 3/4 of 2/5, I can change the word of to multiplication. And that picture is representing 3/4 times 2/5. Now, if you had 2/5 times 3/4, you had it backwards. Make sure you interpret the picture correctly. Now, if I look at how many, my denominator, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I now have 20 parts. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts out of 20, which is your answer. But in lowest terms, since I can divide both by 2, would be 3/10. So your answer is 3/10. Now, alternatively, if I wrote down the expression 3/4 times 2/5, I could cross-reduce this, couldn't I? So 2 over 4. If 2 over 4 was a fraction, what would that be in lowest terms? 2 over 4. It would be 1 over 2. And instead, I would multiply my numerators, which are 3 times 1 now, and 2 times 5. And if I did that, I would still get the same answer of 3/10.